On today's episode of Watch Chair Go, we pick back up where we left off yesterday. The engine's in the car, and a lot of it's hooked up. And today, we're gonna hook up a lot more of it. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Chair Go, and today we are here in the garage with my 2008 Audi R8 V8 twin turbo with Josh. And as you can see, we stabbed the engine yesterday. It's hanging out where it belongs. Looks pretty good in there. And today, we're gonna try to put a bunch more stuff on the car. So, we don't really have a plan on where this is gonna end up. We're just gonna keep cranking on it until we stop somewhere. Maybe the intake can go on. Maybe all the rest of the hoses can be connected, and maybe some turbos will get hung. So that's kind of where I think we might end up. The only problem is we need a V-band clamp. Hopefully a new clamp is just one called Audi away, but I kind of doubt they have it in stock. So I just realized a minute ago that that was kind of key to this going back together. Either way, let's get to it. All right, so up underneath here, as you can see, we've got a bunch of the coolant hoses kind of connected. This one needs tightened, this one needs pushed on and tightened. That one's on. We're getting pretty far in the cooling hoses underneath here, but there are many more to go. We also are missing this line here to the alternator. Okay, we went ahead and just put most of the car together because we're on a roll here. So you can see that the oil sump's on, shifting cables. We've got some intake gaskets. There we go. Everything's done in the valley. All the wiring's hooked up, coolant reservoir, vacuum pump or blower. This ECU is on and grounded. That ECU is on and maybe grounded. And giant intake.
Going for it.
Do it. Full send, just drop it. Okay, don't do that. Fuel lines are hooking back here. There you go. Now I think we gotta do this.
We had to tilt it in.
Yep.
If I remember correctly last time.
For sure. Now there's way less accessibility. CV's going on. Josh is doing the underneath one. I had to pull this cover back off, and I've got that one ready to go. So I'm gonna tighten that one down in a second and put the cover back on, which has to be snaked in. It's a little tricky, but that wraps up the drive. Brake time. The CVs are all tightened down. Those are triple squares. The CV shields are triple squares. M10 and M8, I think. The intake still needs torque. That's the one thing that we're just kind of holding off on, making sure everything's gonna fit, everything's cool. We've got the intercooler coolant lines, passenger vacuum supply for turbo or something back there. We'll figure it out as it goes together. Wastegate vacuum supply. Hey, there's a good one that goes all the way back here. Anyway, massive progress. Almost everything's back together. Let's slide under the car, and I'm gonna show you something really cool. The cover's back on for the center drive shaft. You can see the center drive shaft is all bolted in. All the hose clamps are on. All the coolant lines put back. Looks like we got everything. And we are back from a short mission to go buy some parts. We picked up some 8100 XS 5W40. That should be the perfect oil for this thing. Got 10 quarts there, got a little more coming because the capacity is insane. Almost 11 quarts with this sump and with the dry sump. And we ran to our friends at MH Ford Racing. They happen to have this clamp in stock, which I'm very happy about. This should replace that guy right there. We just finished torquing the intake, which takes 4 passes. It's like everything at 8, and then the back ones at 11, and then you go back and do all the rest at 9, and then the final pass is take them all, except for the back ones, 90 degrees. So that takes quite a while. Even with Josh here and me there passing the torque wrench back and forth, it still took quite a while. If you were a single tech doing this, you'd either walk like 1 mile torquing the intake, or you definitely need teamwork on that thing. Since we haven't shown too much today, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to put the blades on. I think I showed taking them off, but I'll show putting them on. Also, Freddie and I were just talking about the intercooler tank, so I wanted to show him and you guys that. That's the intercooler reservoir right there, and the fill for the intercooler right there. Here is our blade. We're gonna we'll just set that in there like that. This isn't actually crazy complicated. Obviously, don't scratch it. They probably all started right there. There's a whole bunch of pins. You have to start all the pins. And it should kind of snap into position, just like that. Everything back here is retained, and then there's a screw hole right here. It's really dark, and a screw hole right there. We got a couple screws. Put this guy in right through the grill. Oops, that didn't work at all. That was bad. Take two, line up your extension with that screw hole. We're gonna go through this lower one this time, very carefully. There it goes. With this, you just kind of line up the tab on top. It falls right into place, and give it a quick little push, and no more screw hole. So that's how you do the driver's side blade. It's super cool and easy. The passenger side blade takes like 40 minutes and 2 people because it has these like nut plates that hang inside of the fiberglass. You have to have one person kind of holding the top while you put the bottom one in. Then you can put the nuts on the top one. Then you can start tightening those down. There's 4 nuts that hold the fuel door in, and you have to position the fuel fill with a rubber boot as you're sliding it back, and that one's a lot of fun. So I showed you guys the easy one because it's so much better. I am going to start putting the interior back together because all of that is mostly hooked up. The wires are in, and I've got all the main connectors hooked up. The fuse boxes and the relays, those all need hooked up now. Tomorrow, we're gonna hang the turbos. All right, I had to do this. I didn't record any of it because it's too dark and too tedious, but look at that. The entire interior is back together. Of course, all the ECU wiring comes right through a hole right in there, down, and then all the fuses and relays and everything are laid in there. So I put all that back together. The Bang & Olufsen system is back together. That wraps up the interior. Should we do the front end? Of course, here in the front, we have this giant gaping hole because I had to change the battery when I got the car. Let's open it up. Boom. The front end is back together, everything except for this cover right here because the coolant bleed was right there. So that cover is sitting there, just hanging out. Battery cover is sitting there because I gotta hook up the negative terminal. But today our goal is to put together as much of the back end as we can. That includes the wastegates, the diverter valves, the turbos themselves that are hiding out down there, the cold air intakes that run into the fenders. We gotta hook the maps up, put in the giant metal bar that runs across the back right here, and also the giant metal plate that's aftermarket from Heffner that kind of supports the intercooler, the air to water intercooler. I'm getting a new roof on my house today. It's a lot of noise right now. And you can hear that air compressor running, you can hear it keep blowing off. It's a little Honda, which is pretty cool. I don't think they've even had to put gas in it today. Good old Honda air compressors. So there's gonna be a little bit of extra noise today. Sorry about that, there's nothing I can do. Doing a little bit of cleaning back here before we get too wild, but we went ahead and set the wastegates on there with the V-band clamps. We need to tighten them down still. They're just hanging out, but I figured the wastegates needed to look pretty. You can see the dirty version right there. Spray a bunch of brake clean, and the clean version right here. Instant transformation. These are water-cooled wastegates, of course, so we've got vacuum here, runs up towards the front with the diverter valves, and down here we have all the water cooling, and out there we have the blow-off valve running right now. Now we have the camera, we got documentation, we're live, everyone knows we're not cheating. Hook the battery up for the first time in forever. Oh, there's no clutch. Forgot about that. We do need to bleed the clutch. I can't even push the clutch in. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
There's a lot of cranking. We cleared the codes. It's gonna start this time. I'm sure it's gonna start this time. And then we're gonna shut it right back off until we can go get the vacuum tool and fill the coolant. So, key cycle, here we go. Had to get the radio off.
Nice.
It ran! It ran. So,
Success.
yeah, now we got to go get coolant. I figured smoke was gonna roll out of this thing from all the oil. If you guys watched the live video, you saw the turbos going on, the intercooler going on today, the exhaust system, all the V-band clamps going on, and all the cooling, the crazy amount of cooling and oiling that runs through these turbos. Now, we're going to use my vacuum coolant fill that we just got for the Trailblazer and some other stuff, and we're going to pull a vacuum on the cooling system, and if everything's right, it'll hold a vacuum. So first, we hook up the air. Okay, you can hear we've got air going through here. We're gonna open the valve, pulling a vacuum. We're almost down to -25. This is the best vacuum we've ever seen out of that tool. Nothing else does that for us. So we've got G40 in here, the pink coolant. Hopefully that's enough hose. It is, isn't it? Okay, we're gonna toss that down in there and then switch these connectors. Hopefully we don't have to pull a vacuum twice. Time to suck in some coolant. Boom! This thing is fogging the coolant in. Woo-wee. We're gonna need a few more bottles here real quick. Look how fast the level's dropping in that bucket. Oh yeah. While we're doing that, we were doing some leak checking. I'm gonna go ahead and put this clamp back now that we've found the leaks. They were on the turbos, of course. It actually looks like it might be completely topped off. Obviously we need to start the engine and probably pour in a little bit more. Try to put the last few drops in here. We are filling the intercooler coolant loop now. A little bit of water wetter. There's a tiny bit of antifreeze, make sure nothing breaks. I put about 4 ounces in there, fill the rest with water. And that should get that taken care of. We still have no clutch. There's 0 fluid in that system. No power steering fluid. We're gonna go get that from O'Reilly's right now. Luckily they had all this coolant. They had all the G40. They had the water wetter. So clutch fluid, European formula power steering fluid for the Audi, of course, and washer fluid because it's complaining about that and I can't see any errors on the dash because it complains the whole time. So I got to get all these errors cleared. We're going to keep filling stuff up. Huge shout out to the O'Reilly's crew. They just locked the door and I was like, yo, let me in. And they did. Thanks, Logan. Yep. Okay, we got some mini donuts. It's time to eat those. But first, let's give this thing a little bit of food, a little bit of the food it deserves. It's complaining like none other about not having any washer fluid in it. This comes off really easy. I might as well just take it off. No spills. Oh, he's so close. All right, there's one. Now, power steering fluid. Then, unfortunately, I have to pull this back off because we have to get to the clutch fluid, which is under there. This time we actually won't spill it. There we go. I bet this thing can take this entire bottle.
It's hard to breathe in there, homie.
It's ridiculous. Have you ever had to bleed the clutch on your R8 after everything was together and then you remembered that you needed to bleed the clutch? Well, I have, and it was not fun, but the brake fluid and the clutch, they share the same reservoir right there. There's a little plastic line that just runs right over to the clutch pedal. So I propped this up because I didn't want to take the wipers back off. I started to, and it's just too much of a hassle. So you can actually kind of just bend everything out of the way. This plastic's pretty flexible. Put some Motul RBF 660 in the clutch, and then I used my vacuum bleeder, which is the first time the thing's ever actually worked very well because the hose fit perfectly on this bleeder. So here's the thing, the clutch bleeder is right about where my finger is. And here's where you can stand, and that is the accessibility. So if you look all the way in the front, there's a bleeder nipple, 8mm. I loosened it, put a paper towel around the nipple so that if any brake fluid came out, it wouldn't get everywhere. And then I put the hose on there and I pulled a vacuum on it and pulled a vacuum on it for a while. I just kept slowly pulling a vacuum and eventually the bubbles seem like they settled out and it seems like we've got clutch feel. It actually feels really good already. I think it's probably okay. So I don't know if it's good yet. I might still have to do a 2-person bleed. Obviously, much easier that way, more predictable. But hey, got the clutch plate. I think that's it for tonight. The intercooler coolant's full again. Of course, the coolant itself is full. You saw the magic happen with that vacuum fill. My mind's blown that it basically pulled the entire system in one vacuum fill. And we know it works. Coolant tip was starting to come up while the car was idling. The idle's cleaning up. We're making good progress. We still have some weird things. This There's a picture of it in the manual, but nobody seems to know what that is. So it's just sitting up there. There's no ports on the intake we missed. No clue what that is. We've been poring over the manual, asking everybody. We just don't know what it is yet. And there's one other vacuum line up front that we went ahead and plugged because don't know what it is. And now we're getting a P0087. No idea how we'd be getting that code when there were no issues with the DI pumps before, but I should have just fixed most of the lights on the dash. There shouldn't be any more flashing brake light, no more ESC lights. There's a clutch, so it'll start without having to like lift the pedal up and put it back on the floor. Massive progress just now. I'm happy about that. I think I'm done for the night. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this multi-day episode. For some reason, people were upset that we like put the engine in and then it didn't start immediately, even though there's like 3 days of plumbing. Like once the engine's in, you have to do this. All of this, multiple days of work. And it took about probably 3 days to tear down and about 3 days to put back. So I think we killed it. Anyway, once again, don't forget to head on over to shopwatchjericho.com where you can get cool shirts, not like this. And please, like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. Let's see what happens if I flip the ignition on. Hopefully, no more brake errors. Hey, no flashing brake light. I think we made some progress. Front end, back together again. So, I can reach 10 foot up in the air now and close it for the first time since I got the car. Now the electronic lock should work. Let's find out. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Awesome. Very happy about that.